What's up guys, Silver here with another Halo Master Chief Collection Achievement Guide. This time we're doing part 1 of 8 of our Halo 4 LASO guide. This is the mission Dawn. But before we dive into this mission in particular, I just want to touch on a few things that will carry over across all the missions. The first thing is co-op. You could do this entire playlist on co-op and get the achievement. You just want to make sure that each player has all of the missions completed by the time you finish the playlist. So some player can't just jump in for the final mission and get the achievement. They will need to complete all of the missions by the time the playlist ends, and once the playlist ends, it will check to make sure you have all 10 completed, and if not, it will not unlock. So make sure you have all the missions completed in order for it to unlock by the end. And I said 10, it actually includes the prologue and the epilogue, which are 2 cutscenes that bookend this campaign. So 8 playable missions, 2 cutscenes. You could skip those cutscenes if you want, but just make sure that you get through them and that they register so you get that achievement by the time you finish this playlist. Now onto the skulls that are in Halo 4. They are actually all the same as the ones that were in Halo 3. So if you're familiar with Halo 3 skulls, it's very similar in Halo 4. Black Eye, which is your shields, recharge only when you melee enemies. In Halo 4, you don't need to get a kill via melee to get your shields to start going back up. You simply need to melee an enemy, so that's the good news. The bad news is your shield isn't immediately full after smacking an enemy like it is in Halo CE. It just starts recharging at its normal recharge rate after landing the melee. So if you take damage as it's recharging, it will stop charging up. The next skull is Blind, which is going to make your heads-up display and weapon not appear on the screen. This creates a whole host of problems. But there's a bunch of different ways you could actually tell what weapon you have in your hands other than just simply shooting it. You could look at your shadow on the ground. You could also listen to the sounds when you switch between weapons. They all have unique sounds. You could also try zooming, because how far you're zooming could be a giveaway as well. The way your screen moves when you melee is also unique to each weapon. But the easiest way to tell in Halo 4 is you could actually hold the back button or the tab button on PC, and that will actually bring up a kind of description of the gun you have in your hands and also the armor ability you have equipped, so you could easily tell real quick what your weapon and armor ability are. You also can't visually see what grenades you have selected, and unfortunately there's no way to really tell what grenade type you have selected in Halo 4. Most other Halo games, you could actually tell by the sound when you switch between grenade types. It actually has a unique sound for each grenade type that you're selecting, but in Halo 4 that does not happen, so you have to kind of just remember what you have selected and try to keep track. You also can't see the status of your shield, which is problematic, because in Halo 4 on LASO, you can't actually hear any audible alarm that your shield is low or totally gone. The way you could tell if your shield is gone is by going into a third-person point of view, so getting onto a turret or into a vehicle. You'll be able to see your player character, and if you have a bunch of staticky electricity going up and down you, that means your shield is gone. There's no targeting reticle, so it's tough to actually aim without that crosshair. If you're playing on a gaming monitor, a lot of these nowadays actually have a feature where you could set up your own targeting reticle outside of the game. If not, you could always set up a manual one by going into a custom multiplayer game, grabbing the sniper rifle, and then placing a small clear piece of tape over the reticle, and then you could trace the reticle with a marker onto the tape. Also note that you may want to hop into a turret while you're doing this, so you could have a second reticle, because a lot of times, especially on Xbox, there are 2 different reticles for first-person weapons versus third-person weapons. The next skill is Catch, which good news is enemies will drop more grenades for you to pick up and use. The bad news is enemies throw more grenades. Cowbell, acceleration from explosions is increased. Famine, weapons dropped by AI have half the ammo they normally would. Fog, totally irrelevant. Your motion tracker is disabled, aka your radar, but that's irrelevant because we know the blind skulls are going to take it away anyway. Grunt birthday party, grunt headshots lead to glorious celebrations. The next skull is the Iron Skull. While playing co-op, if one person dies, it resets everyone back to the last checkpoint, and while playing solo, dying resets you to the beginning of the level. However, there's the workaround for the Iron Skull. While playing solo, whenever you die, simply pause the game as fast as possible, go to save and quit, and then once you're back in the lobby, you want to go to resume, and that will set you back at your last checkpoint instead of having to go back all the way to the beginning of the level. I would have been your daddy. Rare dialogue becomes more common. Mythic, enemies have increased health. Thunderstorm upgrades the rank of most enemies, so a grunt minor may instead be a grunt major, a brute minor may be a major. Tilt, enemy resistances and weaknesses are increased, so Covenant weapons, which are mostly plasma based, are really good at taking down shields and not so great at taking down health, while human weapons are the opposite. They're actually not so great at taking down shields, but they're better at taking down health. These characteristics are essentially amplified, so a weapon that wasn't so good at something is now even worse at it, and a weapon that was good at something else is now even better at it. And then finally, tough luck. This means enemies are going to dive out of the way more often, so if you throw a grenade, if you try to splatter them with a vehicle, they're more likely to dodge out of the way. And with all that said, let's get started. Cortana is going to direct us to look up and hit the manual release on our cryopod here, so look up, hit the action button, and we will pop out of this thing that we've been hanging out in for almost 5 years at this point. We're going to waltz up to Cortana's pedestal here. We're going to take her chip out and slap it into the back of our head. All scripted, you don't have to do anything after hitting that manual release, but you do want to take note of the pistol that fell down in the far right corner of this room. So grab this. It's not always in the exact same spot, but it starts off by floating around, and then once the gravity is put in place by Cortana, it kind of falls down in that corner there. So grab that. We're going to move through to the next part of the mission here. There's just a bunch of areas where you're just running through at this point. No enemies quite yet, but we want to make sure that we reload that pistol that we picked up because it's about half loaded when we do pick it up. So just hit the reload button. It will make sure it's totally good to go when you do encounter some enemies up ahead a little further into the mission here. So up ahead here, there's a series of actions we need to take, which are super easy. We go up to this door, and then we tap the action button to kind of spread them apart, and we could go into this next area, and then we're going to get knocked over by some boxes. We'll wind up on the wall on the other side of this big gap here, and we're going to start climbing. You're not really in control of your camera at this point, so just kind of push forward, and you will start climbing up, and once you glance left or right, that's the direction you want to move your controller into, and that will get you to jump across to the other side where you're going to avoid all the debris that's falling. So you can see when he glances left, just move your controller left, and when he glances right, do the same thing, move your controller right. And this is the last one right here. He glances left, so move left, and we all know what the deal is here. We've done this before. You're probably not playing LASO for your first playthrough here, but this elite will approach you. You just mash the melee button, and that will get him to be thrown into the shaft here. And then we will move on to the first actual battle here we're going to fight here in this mission. So another pistol right here, grab that so you have more ammo. There's more frags on the ground as you enter this area, so you should have 2 frags now at this point. We're going to backsmack this elite, turn to the right, there's 3 grunts. We want to headshot those guys as quickly as possible. And then we're going to jump down to the left, and there's going to be 5 more grunts on this side. So 8 grunts total. You want to kill 7 of them, and then find the 8th one, and we're going to use him to get our shields back. Since I hit him in the back, that's obviously a one-hit kill, but if you don't end up getting behind him, you could actually just smack him 4 times in any other part of his body, and that will be enough to kill him and get your shield back. Fill up on magnum ammo. You can see below the center platform, there's 2 places to fill up on the walls here, and there's also a crate on each side of the room, so 4 places total to get magnum ammo. Also below the center platform, you can see there was a crate full of 4 frag grenades and assault rifle ammo, so there's frags just all over the place. We're going to activate this blast shield right now, and you can see on the ground up on the platform, there's frag grenades on either side. There's frag grenades over by these 2 other crates that have more frags in them, plus assault rifle. So just frags everywhere, assault rifle everywhere, lots of magnum ammo. So we have full AR, full pistol, and full frags. Make sure you grab 2 plasma grenades as well, so we have full everything moving into this next part of this room here. I'm going to stand right about here in between the 2 windows on the side, and I'm just going to let these phantoms kind of bust through the window, and I'm going to wait a little bit before getting behind these guys because there's a lot of debris that flies towards that window. So you can see I just waited for that to happen. Kill that grunt, kill that elite with a backsmack, and then I'm going to back up and shoot the 3 remaining grunts on this side as I retreat through the door that we entered from. So we killed the 4 grunts and 1 elite on that side that we were at. There's going to be 4 more grunts and 1 elite on the other side. So we took out 2 right there. There should be 2 remaining plus that 1 elite. So we're going to just kind of hang back here in the safety of this room and pick off these grunts. We have 1 left, so I'm just kind of waiting for him. I'm not focusing on the elite just yet. Obviously, I want to keep tabs on where he is so he doesn't shoot me up, but we killed the last grunt there. So what I'm going to do is kind of hang out by this doorway, and where you want to position yourself is on the side of the door that the elite is at. So we know the elite is towards the right side, so we're going to position ourselves on the right side, but I could see into the opposite side of that room. Since the elite can't see me, it will cause him to lose interest in us, and he'll start patrolling, which means he'll just start walking around randomly, and with our current sight line, we'll be able to see when he walks past the door, and we could start sprinting towards him and assassinate him for the quick kill and full shields once that happens. That worked pretty well this time. Sometimes it takes a little more time for the elite to start cooperating, and you may need to reposition a couple times, but just be patient, and you'll be able to sneak up and nail him from behind. But you want to make sure before we go to the next section that you grab full magnum, full AR, frags, and plasma grenades, which I've already done, so we're moving through these doors now. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because there's a little bit of time to take this elevator up and for the doors to open here. We want to stand to the side of this door here as it opens so enemies don't start throwing grenades before we even see them. But once it's open, shoot your pistol to get the grunts to turn, then you can headshot them easily. Then you want to back up to allow all these grenades to explode that have been thrown by those grunts and the elite. We'll go back in, and this elite is going to get stuck in an animation of throwing grenades, so we're just going to sidestep those as we get closer, and then once we get to about there, we're going to wrap up around behind him while he's in the animation, and before he could recover from that throwing animation, we're just going to backsmack him for the quick kill. Walk up to this door, but don't go through it yet. We're going to wait for that door behind us to close, and then we're going to move up here, and we're going to have the door open up, and we're going to hide behind this corner, and once we hear the door is fully opened, we want to sprint forward and get around this elite and backsmack him real quick for the quick kill so he doesn't run into the next area where he's harder to kill. and then we could focus on the 3 grunts in this area. Sometimes 1 or more of the grunts will turn into suicide grunts, so watch out for that. You really want to have full health at this point. So if you took any damage from the grunts, try to save one that's not a suicide grunt for last, and that way you could smack them to death to get your shield up. So we're going to jump down the left side of the stairwell here in between the wall and the stairs, and we're going to just pick off the grunts on the left. There's 2 grunts on the left, 2 grunts on the right, and there's also this elite in the middle of the hallway here. You want to have your back to the wall as much as possible when the elite is looking at you, because the further away you are, the less likely he is to shoot at you or throw grenades. But you can see I was just kind of shooting at him with the AR a little bit, not to do any damage really, but that gets him to move to the left or the right, and then I could kind of reposition myself more safely while I'm trying to get these grunts to expose their heads. Ideally, they would be a little more active and volunteer their heads to be shot from afar with your pistol, but you can see they're kind of hiding this time around, which is fine. This happens fairly often, so what I do is I throw a plasma grenade down the hall, and that oftentimes gets them to move around a little bit, and then as the grunts start shuffling around, obviously you can pick them off with a headshot with the pistol. You can see I'm just continuing to spritz the elite with the AR, so he just goes away temporarily, and we'll throw another grenade down here to try to stir the pot, get him to move around. That enabled us to kill the 2 grunts on the right side, so all we have left is the elite, of course, and the 1 grunt remaining on the left side. I could barely see his arm, so I'm going to try to shoot that a little bit just to get him to move around. Maybe he'll react to his arm getting shot off. I know I would, but all I have left on the grenade front is 2 frags. I use my 2 plasmas, and instead of using the 2 frags, I would actually recommend moving back up the stairs where those dead grunts and that dead elite are. There's probably some plasma grenades still up there. If you have no shield at this point, the best way to take out this elite is to get him stuck in an animation of throwing grenades at you, and then you could circle around behind him and backsmack him. But if you do have remaining shields like me, you could just spritz him with the AR. That will get him to back up, and then you could walk down the hall and close the gap, actually allow him to melee you, and while he's recovering from that, you could wrap up around behind him and melee him yourself and get your shield all the way back. Melees from these elites are surprisingly weak. If you have a full shield, they only take down about half your shield, so you could take up to 2 smacks with a full shield from these elites, but if you're anything below a half shield, you definitely don't want to risk it. But on to the next section, we are going to grab some magnum ammo in the crate on the left here, and then we're going to poke our head out in the far right side of this room. There should be at least 1 grunt, sometimes 2, so we're going to pick those guys off, and then on the other side of the room, there's going to be the remainder of the grunts. So there's going to be 4 grunts total in this room, plus 1 elite, and there's 2 jackal reinforcements, but we want to stay by this door until we kill all those grunts, and then we're going to see the jackals come through these doors. You can see when I move to the right of that crate, the game froze a little bit. That means the loading zone is loading everything in, and these 2 jackal reinforcements are coming through. So we could put our reticle on the head of the jackal on the left, so right as the door kind of lifts up and exposes that jackal's head, we could easily headshot him real quick to make it a lot easier to deal with him, because as you know, these jackals have those shields on their forearms, and they are annoying to deal with a lot of the time. So the thing about jackals is once they see you, they will put their shield up, and they won't really move it until they don't see you for a little bit. So if they have it up, just kind of duck behind cover for a little bit, which I'm displaying here. I could have shot this guy in the head earlier, but I just wanted to kind of show off how the jackal doesn't really move his shield just because you're staring at him for a long time. The exact opposite, actually. If you're staring at him, he's not going to move his shield most likely. So we'll just be patient, duck behind cover for a few seconds. Plenty of magnum ammo on the left side, so we should not run out of that. And we'll be able to poke our heads out, and we'll see if he puts his shield down eventually. And once he does, we're going to land that headshot. And he's taken a little more time than I would like to cooperate this time around, but that's okay. Again, we have all the time in the world. LASO is often a game of patience. Now that the jackal reinforcements have come through into this area, you could actually try to run past these guys, but obviously it's ideal to go into the next section and go into all sections with a full shield. So we're going to try to take this guy out. And I accidentally jumped right there. I'm breaking in a new controller with new paddles, a controller I've never used before, so I accidentally hit the jump button there and wasted that headshot opportunity. But that's all right. We'll get another one. Here, we'll land the headshot, and now we just have the elite to deal with. So I got more magnum, and I'm going to go over here and throw a plasma grenade at the ground. That will get him to dodge out of the way most likely, and we could close the gap, and we'll be able to wrap up around behind him and give him the back smack. And this often happens. Sometimes you will not land the back smack, and you'll just kind of smack him in the side, and you could actually just run circles around him, and he can't really shoot you at all while he's running around. He doesn't actually turn fast enough to catch up with you. You could actually run around him faster than he can turn. So just keep circling, keep smacking so you maintain your shield. In this room, we're going to move to the left slowly and headshot this jackal as his head comes into view. And if he puts his shield up, just remember to back up and just allow him to put it down before you try again. And there's another one on the right side, so do the same thing. Again, like we did in the previous room, if they put up their shield, just back up for a little bit, wait for him to put it down, then try again. And after that, there's 8 grunts in this area, so we're just going to take out those 8 grunts. You want to make sure you have a full shield before you proceed, so take out the 2 jackals, kill 7 of the 8 grunts, and then that 8th grunt we're going to use to get our shield back if we need to. So we're just going to run up to him and smack him to death. Remember, it takes 4 smacks to kill a grunt in LASO. So we're just going to kind of hang out back here. No need to move forward. They will actually come into the center area on their own, so you don't need to move forward. You don't want to have to deal with the elites on the other end before we kill all the other enemies. So we're smacking this grunt, ensuring we have full shield, and now we're going to move up on the left side or the right. It doesn't matter which. I just chose the left side. We're going to stop about here and wait for him to move a little closer to us so we could easily close the gap quickly and have him smack us, and as he's recovering, we could just back smack him real quick for the one-hit kill. Right after killing that elite, I kind of retreated a little bit to allow my shields to go up and to kind of gather myself before I took on this guy, and we're going to do the same thing with this elite. This is kind of dangerous because you can't really circle around the elite when he's up against the wall, so you want to have him kind of out in the middle. This third and final elite is stuck in this door frame in the MCC version of the game. So you can see he's dancing. He's having trouble getting through the doorway, which is fine with me. He's going to wind up being an easy kill. Sometimes on occasion, if you spend too much time dancing with those first 2 elites, he will dislodge himself from the door and join the party, but most of the time he stays stuck there. Once you kill him, grab his concussion rifle. So we have a pistol and concussion rifle at this point. Skipped ahead a little bit there because you have to wait a little bit for the next zone to finish loading in. Grab the BR. So we have a BR and a concussion rifle now. There's just a battle rifle floating in midair there as you get into this outdoor area. We're going to run along the right side, and we're going to use the battle rifle to look back towards the left, and you're going to see a jackal sniper up on top of the structure over there by the wall. So take him out. Not 100% necessary. He's never killed me except for one time on stream a few days ago, so we're just being cautious, taking him out so he doesn't take us out, and we're going to move along here, just continue going along the edge here, and we're going to jump up here without fighting any more of the enemies. So I'll show you the old way that this was done, but some people have issues with this, so I'm going to show you an easier way right afterwards. So the old way was to go up here, jump up to the beams up here, and then we're going to jump up to the kind of depressed floor up there. You can see it's kind of broken, so it's a little lower in this point that we're going to jump up to. But those jumps were a little tough for some people, so I'm going to show you an easier way that I found. Follow this path, jump up here to these pipes, and then over here, and then you want to make sure that you don't hit your head as you jump up to this beam here. But you can see you're a lot higher, and it's a lot easier to jump up to this beam than it was from the other side. So as long as you're not hitting your head on the stuff above you, just jump up here, and then we're going to use the concussion rifle to jump and then immediately shoot down at the I-beam that you're standing on, and that will allow you to jump higher than normal. But be aware of the fact that there is an elite up here, so we're just going to throw a grenade in his general direction just to get him to dodge out of the way so he doesn't focus on firing at us too much. And we're going to activate the missile here. We're going to sprint ahead and sprint as fast as you can towards the missile that's jammed now. We have to actually go over here and manually release it, so we're going to hide behind here, and we could actually avoid fighting the reinforcements by just immediately sprinting in this direction and then activating this with the action button. I skipped that cutscene and I sped this part up because we're just running back towards this nav point. You do want to be aware of the fact that there's a lot of debris flying around because of the gravity well that has been activated. It's kind of sucking everything towards Requiem, so you want to be aware of that and don't get splattered. But you could really just walk and follow this path at this point. I recommend walking because there's a lot of explosions, as you can see, and if you run too fast, you could actually run into one of these explosions. But if you take it nice and slow, the explosions pretty much stay ahead of you, so you don't wind up in the middle of one and end up dead. So just calmly walk to the end of the mission. This is the last big room. We're going to see the floor fall out from beneath us, and there's some grunts in this area that you could use to smack to get your shield back as well. So now that we have a full shield, we could feel good about moving forward. We're going to jump over this gap. You can see I am sprinting now. There's not too much in the way of collapsing floors and ceilings anymore, so I'm just going to sprint towards the end. Most of the time, those enemies in the last hallway there don't shoot at you, so you're pretty safe. One time, again on stream though, one of those grunts turned on me and actually killed me, which never happened to me except for that one time. So you're not home free. Just be aware of your surroundings. Calmly and coolly walk towards the nearest exit, just like a regular old fire drill. That is the end of Dawn. I will see you when we tackle the next mission, Requiem. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found that video helpful, be sure to click on the scorpion icon to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You can also check out some related guides by clicking on the videos on screen, and you can find links in the description for other social media links of mine. Stay tuned for more Halo guides, and I'll see you in the next one.